So hey y'all, I'm back with another video. So tonight's video is yet again another Chioma Chats video podcast edition. So by the title, we're going to be talking about rapper Gherbo admitting to cheating on his child's mother, Ari Fletcher, also known as the real Kyle's sister. Herb appeared on the podcast show Carisha Please a few weeks back, and the interview was great. I thought that both of them had great chemistry. I thought the questions were very interesting because they were spicy, but then they were also answering questions that I'm sure fans wanted to know. I also think that it was very comprehensive. I mean, Carisha did a great job. She covered a lot of information, and I think her personality is great for this. I wish she would just focus on the things that put her in a good light, because outside of her relationship or situationship, she is very likable. She has the personality that is great for entertainment, and I think this podcast show showcases that her presence in urban pop culture is well received and very infectious. During this interview, Herb decided to admit that he did cheat on Ari back in the day, as if we didn't already know, and the reasons for him cheating. Let's take a look at that.
Ready for the smoke, man.
It's time to get to the smoke.
Let's get to the smoke, man.
Okay. Are you a cheater?
Am I a cheater?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say I'm a cheater. I cheated, though.
Did you cheat on Ari with Taina?
Yeah.
Why?
Technically, yeah. Why?
Yeah.
I was young. I was dumb. I ain't know no better, man. I was just doing shit. I was just, you feel me, like, just cheating. I feel like, I ain't gonna say I was just cheating, but it's like, me and Ari was at a space, and I didn't talk to her about this already. Like, I didn't already say my bid, my piece, and apologize. We was at a space where, like I said, mentally, like, I be going through shit, and I gotta, like, separate myself from shit. So, me and her was having our differences, but that was no excuse to cheat on her. That was not why I cheated on her, you feel what I'm saying? Like, I didn't intentionally, like, do all, like, I want to cheat.
She said she was going through, like, postpartum depression.
Yeah.
And you cheated on her. You know, like, postpartum depression, that shit is really real.
That shit real. I ain't always naive to that, though. Like, I ain't never been around a woman who was, like, suffering from postpartum depression and none of that. And at the same time, when she was going through that, I had just lost, like, one of my best friends, you feel what I'm saying? I lost my homie C-Money. So I was, like, super stressed and shit, you know what I'm saying? But that ain't no excuse. I ain't make no excuse. I had to make peace with myself early on because I thought I was right back then. I'm like, man, fuck it. Ooh, like, we was at a space where we, like, wasn't communicating like that, wasn't having sex. I wasn't coming home, you feel me? Like, I'm sleeping in the studio every night. So in my brain, I'm like, all right, I ain't cheating because I ain't having sex with her and going having sex with somebody else, you feel me? Like, but in actuality, I was, though.
So do you feel like babies change, like, relationships, like when the baby is born, do you feel like it changed things in a relationship?
Definitely, especially if you're not ready for that, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you ain't ready for what come with that, because women go through postpartum, y'all automatically emotional. Y'all just emotional anyways. Y'all that's like an ocean. Y'all say what y'all feel and not what y'all mean and all the above. So it's like, as a man, if you don't know how to, like, deal with your emotions a certain way, that shit will fuck it up, you know what I'm saying? And I ain't gonna lie, I definitely, like, learn from my mistakes as I got older, you feel me? Because I just, like, I feel like I ran from my problems. That's what I did. I definitely did.
So I know I've done a video before where I said that I would make a video detailing my thoughts on their relationship and how it plays a role in urban pop culture, as well as my overall opinion about their situations now. So I thought it was interesting that a question that I think everybody already knew the answer to, I think we all knew that he cheated, gets answered in 2022, and the reception of this interview from the general public. I wanted to discuss my overall thoughts on Herb and Ari's relationship and just give my insight to what I took away from this. So I've broken this video down into two main talking points. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. So point number one is toxic relationship. And the reason why I'm labeling this toxic is for obvious reasons. So between Ari and Herb, there's a multitude of toxic elements that made up their relationship. From the infidelity to the violence to the hostility to childbirth, as well as the number one most toxic element, which is the internet. Gherbo and Ari came up during a time where the idea of being a rapper girlfriend or even a rapper baby mama was still very new and fresh. It was still in its idolization stage where people were enamored by their presence and people were interested to see the women who are attached to these up-and-coming rappers. I never got into Gherbo and I still don't listen to him like that, but I think his latest album was very good. I do this thing now where I intentionally go listen to rap music because obviously I become more intrigued by it during my pursuit of doing music, but also because it works hand in hand with my stories for YouTube. But like I was saying, I never used to listen to him, so back in the day when he was still in the up-and-coming stage, I really only knew his his really popular songs like Rollin' and Kill Ish that he did with Lil Bibby. And side note, I used to be like the biggest Lil Bibby fan in high school. I don't know, it's just something about deep voices that do something for me. But back on track, during that era was when relationships and couples were in their phase of being able to attract a fan base from the internet and capitalizing off of that adoration. It was appealing to people to see young black love in all formats. A lot of it started off with DK4L, which was De'Ara and Ken, who got their claim to fame through their relationship pictures going viral on Twitter and Facebook back in the day. This focus on young black love, or just couples in general, transitioned onto YouTube, where couples channels had an era on YouTube. An era that was very interesting and had so many highs and lows. So with that, I think their relationship popped off so much, as it was in the midst of when relationships had their chapter in pop culture. And I think anyone who had a relationship be the forefront of their relevance to any degree kind of suffered what I would say is some degree of exploitation. And the exploitation happens in a double-edged sword type of way, because on one hand, you're innocently showcasing the love that you have between yourself and your partner to the world as anyone would, but you're receiving attention for it. So it motivates you to put it more on display. But then on the other hand, you have strangers consuming your content that you're free to post and showcasing the love that you have with your partner, but it's being absorbed through the eyes of people who adore you because of their own interests, their desires, and their yearning for entertainment. So Ari and Gherbo were like a perfect storm. Their relationship grew with their social status. He grew as a rapper and she grew as both his girlfriend and her own social endeavors, because the more and more people fell in love with the idea of couples goals, and because Ari and Gherbo exemplified that through their pictures, their videos, Snapchat, and even their in-person appearances, people were really invested in them. So I say perfect storm in the sense where their appeal created a platform for toxicity. And I would never say that it's two people's intent to create a toxic environment within a relationship, because toxicity is usually a side or after effect of people's lack of maturity, lack of confidence, and lack of self-esteem. But like I said, as their appeal grew, so did the toxicity. I feel like at some point, as their fame got to the level of them being recognized as a couple, whether it was locally in Chicago or on a bigger spectrum, you would see that their interactions became a lot more hostile. And I'm not sure where the hostility stems from, because I wasn't in their relationship, but if I had to guess, I would say it's just the pressure of being the it couple, the revered couple, a couple that people have now placed on a pedestal as the pinnacle of their goals and desires. So there's clips on social media of just the aggressive nature in their conversation. There's clips of Ari being physically aggressive, and just evidence of the toxicity that came in their relationship.
Start shutting the fuck up sometimes. For real. Talking too much. Start shutting the fuck up. And some stuff you be saying you don't be having to say. You just
bitch, I can say whatever the fuck I want to say.
Start shutting the fuck
no,
up.
No, bitch, you start shutting the fuck up. So watch your fucking mouth.
And I must add that I feel like being young and in the spotlight is just a horrible mix all around. Like, whether it's you're in a relationship with a rapper, or you're the next biggest sensation on social media, or you're the child of a well-known person, being a young person in the spotlight has time and time again shown us how it usually ends up in shambles. Fame is very complex, and I think when you're at a stage of your life where you don't even understand how to really be a level-headed individual, which is very oftentimes synonymous with teenagers and young adults, there is a downside to it. And for the relationship and couple sector of it, we see it pushed out through the guise of toxicity. Crazy enough, my first video about Ari ever was titled "She is Toxic," and this was around the time of their breakup. That's when I first figured out their story, because I wasn't into them during the relationship, because I really didn't even know how big they were until they actually broke up. That breakup happened due to a multitude of reasons, but as Herb admitted to the world, he did cheat on Ari. As I was looking back at stuff, I saw a tweet in which Ari said, "No, I didn't get cheated on, so dry that poom poom up, Lil B." I'm not sure if this was her deflecting from the embarrassment of being cheated on, but we now know today that that is what led to their breakup. Now, referencing that video that I did do a few years ago on Ari being toxic, I do agree that she is a lot to handle. I just think her personality in general is definitely an acquired taste. You either like how she is or you don't. I don't care too much for Ari and her antics, but I have seen a lot of growth in her ever since that scandal that she had about her comments that she made towards towards domestic violence. But that insensitivity to her comments about DV does cause me to raise my eyebrow a little bit, because she clearly was also a victim of DV, but she was also a perpetrator of the same offense. And I think back then, the narrative of the loudmouth, ghetto, aggressive, but also flamboyant, relatable, and youthful aura about Ari is what made their relationship so big. If you ask me, she was the star of the relationship per se, because yes, G Herbo has the bigger star power with him actually being a rapper. But I think if he was in a relationship back then with someone that has a demeanor of his current girlfriend Taina, I don't think their relationship would have been as big or as admired. Not to say that that is what matters, but just looking at it from the scope of what drew people to them, I think Ari's tendencies and physical appearance gave them the appeal and admiration, and I think Herb's personality and celebrity gave them the visibility. However, all of those factors combined led to toxicity, and that toxicity doesn't get any better when two people decide to put a young baby into the situation. We often see this narrative that once two people have a baby, the relationship ends. I remember being on Facebook last week and somebody said, how come y'all relationships end or y'all break up right after y'all have a baby together? And I think it's because a baby puts everything about that relationship into perspective, and it also reveals the blanket of toxicity that is being masked by other factors. For their case, it was the fact that they were this huge couple, they were young, and they were relevant during the beginning of that relationship and couple goals era. But it's true, once the baby was born, it seems like their relationship came to an end. And Herb admits that he cheated on her. She was dealing with postpartum, he wasn't mature enough to handle what she was dealing with, and he also wasn't able to rationalize the necessities that were crucial for not only their relationship, but their very young family. I feel like Herb gets a social slap on the wrist, meaning society, because he's so likable, he's so down to earth, and he does have a very charismatic personality. I don't think he got dragged for cheating on her by society. Not back then and not now. Back then, Ari was made to look like the bad guy. Like I said, I even did a video on her. But I will be honest to say that I never really considered every aspect of the relationship, because from what I was seeing at the time, she always looked like the aggressor. And I'm not saying that is reason for someone to not get or not deserve sympathy, because I do think Ari is the victim in the situation. But what I'm saying is, from the general public's point of view, all of the toxicity was on full display and people were eating it up, that once everything came crashing down, Ari was really the one who took the fall. There was an incident that became public of when Herb was arrested for beating Ari up and dragging her down the sidewalk and front steps of their house. And I still feel like people were blaming Ari for everything. And I'm a fair person, so I do acknowledge her mistakes and the things that she's done and said. I definitely think she is very antagonizing, or at least was, but I also feel like in the overall situation, G Herbo is very much the root of a lot of Ari's backlash and the perception that she had once that relationship was over. I've held Ari responsible for a lot of things on my channel, but I think when the whole world is gaslit to look at you in a negative way, you begin to feed into that. We always speak about her attitude and how quick she is to demean her fan base or just social media users, but I think it's because she has always been looked at as the villain and the toxic one in the relationship that she shared with G Herbo. And I think G Herbo has definitely played into the nice guy role, who is innocent and is this battered individual. When he cheated, he left his girlfriend and newborn baby to go be with someone who didn't respect their relationship, and then instead of acknowledging what he did, he waits like 5 years later to admit that he did the girl bad. That's just not right. And I know some of y'all don't want to hear this, but I do believe his new girlfriend Taina also plays into that nice guy, nice girl aura that surrounds G Herbo. Not to say that they are not nice people, but it's easier to be seen as unproblematic, and it's easier for Ari to be seen as bitter on her end when the common denominator, which is the man, is gaslighting both ladies in different ways. And I think he's been doing this from the beginning, telling Taina that he's not with his child's mother, they're no longer together, and that he's single. That way she feels justified and encouraged to mess with a man who everybody knows is in a relationship, and Taina definitely knew as well. And then him telling Ari that he's not cheating, she's his forever girl, and also still being sexually intimate with her, even though she's under her own speculation of his infidelity. I think he fed both of them shit and called it sugar so that he could have his cake and eat it too. And he probably kept doing that until it blew up in his face. I feel like even now, recently after all of this came out, Herb admitted to cheating, Ari gave her response, and then Taina posted pictures of her and Herb with the caption LOL. And I'm sorry, but I took that as shade because it was just way too coincidental. It's almost like she's laughing about being the winner and getting the man in the end. And I may be reaching with this, I might, but I for sure think Taina is not all the way innocent as social media likes to believe. But I'll give her credit for doing a good job of keeping that narrative up, remaining remaining silent, knowing when and when not to speak. That way, you get to kind of navigate your own perception. I told y'all ladies, silence truly is a virtue. Now, one thing I will give Ari is that after that relationship, she got the hell on. There was no taking him back 1,000,005 times. Yes, she went on her rant and had her rampage for the internet to see, but once that was said and done, and once that toxicity had reached an ultimate high, she definitely moved on. During that arrest video of their domestic violence situation, Herb admitted to cheating on Ari right then and there. He said that Ari was mad that he didn't want to be with her anymore, but then in the same breath says that he's still sleeping with her, but then also said that he was sleeping with Taina and that he loves Taina. And sometimes I just feel like men don't realize how bad their words are. Like, to me, that would crush me. My boyfriend, who I just had a baby with, is telling the world that he's sleeping with me still, but that he loves his girlfriend, who is another woman, and says he doesn't want to be with me anymore. Meanwhile, I'm at home with postpartum and a new baby. Anybody would be crushed. Like, I would be so heartbroken and also embarrassed. And I'm not gonna lie, I probably would be a little bit bitter too. Sometimes I don't think men get it. I really don't think they understand how bad their words affect women. Because for us women, a lot of times the physical appeal is what we promote and what we prioritize. So when we're looking at the other woman who a man is cheating with, it is way deeper than a man just cheating. It is a physical analysis of what this girl has that I don't have. Not to say that men don't cross-check themselves in that light as well, but it's just different for women. Cheating sucks for both genders, and both genders deal with it in their way. But for women, the self-esteem of your physical appearance plummets because we hold our appearance in high regard to not only how men see us, but how we want women to see us as well. So from the hair, makeup, skin color, facial features, and everything in between. When guys cheat, just know that it's going to take a lot for that woman to rebuild her confidence, no matter how pretty she is and no matter how many men find her attractive outside of you. That's just my little rant for the night. But just to end the talking point, for Herb to come out now and admit to the cheating, I think it's honest and it's accountable, but I also feel like the narrative has already been set for years because of his cheating. And I would hope that he is a different man to Taina and his current relationship with her, because I really can't look past disrespecting the mother of your child like that. For him, it was like all I took away was, oh, I was a young man having fun, I was immature, so I cheated. And it's almost like there's a past. I mean, there's no reason for him or Ari, let alone strangers on the internet like us, to be that up in arms about something that happened so long ago. But I do think their relationship was an exhibit of young toxic love that now down the line affected and continues to affect both of the parties. So my second and final point is healing. And being that my first point discussed toxicity and how their relationship was toxic and then caused both of them to take on different public perceptions because of their relationship, I think the after result is the healing process. Like I said, Ari was the true victim here. And I say true victim because I think overall she took the L. I do acknowledge the domestic violence that she inflicted towards Herb. I think men go through domestic violence a lot and it gets swept under the rug, but I think there's a lot of men that are suffering from DV because they refuse to physically strike or even physically defend themselves against a woman, even though they know they could cause more damage to that woman. And I think there's this mental battle of, I know I can physically retaliate, but as a man, the consequences for my actions and the connotation of my actions are going to be met with way more backlash. I believe that part is Herb's victimhood, because even though I don't recall people calling him soft or people calling him out of his name for enduring some of the treatment that he received from Ari, I can still acknowledge the mental challenge of dealing with DV as a man. Now, Ari's victimhood is also worth noting because she got the social scorn. She did not have a positive label or reputation once that relationship ended. Of course, for her actions in DV, but also because I think society picks and chooses what level of aggressive, sometimes ghetto, and also unpleasant behavior they want to excuse. And although Ari has a lot of the physical privileges that would give her a pass for acting crazy, she didn't really get as big of a pass. Like, she did, but it just wasn't as big. So it definitely was fuel to the fire of her casting a bitter or a negative energy out to her fan base in social media. And I feel like for years, she was trying to rebuild her self-worth and her self-confidence after being played in the way that she was, but she did not handle it in the appropriate measures, especially with the comments that she made towards victims and survivors of the same situation that she has gone through. But that all brings me to this aspect of healing. And I think time heals all. People ask, what is the best way to get over a breakup? And I don't think there's any remedy other than time. Time puts puts things into perspective. Time gives you a chance to grow and experience life, which also teaches you things about life and about yourself, your actions, and your ways. And time helps you develop your brain and your mindset closer to a better version of you. Of course, there are so many other factors that help or hinder the essence of time in regards to healing from a breakup. But I think overall, both of these two young people who are actually older than me, but young nonetheless, needed time to heal themselves. I think on Gherbo's end, he needed time to mature and understand what he did was beyond wrong, and to understand that he was super insensitive in a very sensitive situation, and to also understand that of course he is free to move on and love somebody else, but his actions and the way that he did it definitely affected Ari's confidence in her overall self-esteem. I think on Ari's end, she also needed time to mature, realizing that her antics don't always translate into a healthy environment, and that casting your negative energy or the bitterness that you feel from heartbreak, embarrassment, and negative comments on social media and then some does come back around. I mean, for years, Ari has been very vocal in many harsh ways, and she was dropped from Savage X Fenty as a brand ambassador for her comments about domestic violence. And I think that was a very humbling moment for her to understand that all of that energy that she has absorbed from that very big turning point in her life, which was the separation between her and her child's father, does come back around. Energy is not created or destroyed, it's just passed and exchanged and transferred. So whatever you put out does come back. Hence why I said I personally feel like, although I'm not wishing for Gherbo and Taina to break up or for them to go through any scandal, you do lose them how you get them. And unless Taina is complacent with Gherbo still being a cheater or having a lack of respect for his child's mothers, the chance of him continuing to do that and the chance of her eventually getting fed up is very high. Right now, Herb and Taina are still very young, so everything looks very rainbows and unicorns because they are very revered as a couple right now. But the older she gets, and I think the older her children get, if that behavior is still present, she'll eventually get fed up and the relationship may or may not last. I think the healing that I have seen out of both Gherbo and Ari is commendable because clearly they're in two different areas of their life. They don't really trend for their messy relationship drama anymore, and they clearly both have moved on to other people. Ari's response to Gherbo admitting that he cheated on her was pretty nonchalant. I mean, she didn't really have much to say. Let's check it out.
To lying about the things that he did and people like villainized you, do you feel like you were vindicated, and how did that make you feel?
Do I feel like he what?
Do it feel like you were it vindicated you, like that you were actually telling the truth the whole time, like you weren't lying?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of always wanted him to just be upfront and honest because I always felt like it was just me fighting against all these people and trying to tell my truth. But you just said this ain't crazy. I'm wrong. You know what I'm saying? You could have did that all along, but I feel like people gonna do what they do. I don't really. It's like now at this point I don't really care. You know what I'm saying? It's like back then I would have loved that. Like, thank you. You know what I'm saying? Like, take this weight up off my shoulder. Let these people know I'm not just out here tripping. But now it's kind of just like you bad relationships though. I don't.
So she claims that she doesn't care and it would have been nice for him to have said this a while ago, but at this point it doesn't matter. And I do get that because all he had to do was set a record straight back when all of this came out. And maybe she would not have gotten the scarlet letter that she has worn for years, which caused a lot of people to dislike her. Like I said, her personality does also play a role. I mean, that's what it is for me, but I do think her overall perception was not the best. And I think her feelings coming out of that breakup were also not considered at that time. It is good to see that both have healed and don't speak negatively about one another at this point, maybe, just maybe. And I think their relationship is one of those urban legends about how money, fame, attention, and feeding into the desires of outsiders can lead to toxicity and can hurt a lot of people. I think they were two young people who were genuinely in love and were just navigating their lives the best way they could during an era where all of that attention was hyperextended into their reality. And I think their situation is very teachable for young people that you shouldn't place anybody's relationship on a pedestal because everyone deals with the good and the bad and the ugly of life within a relationship. I don't really think they'll speak more about their relationship in the future, but it's good that in the end, it seems like both Ari and Gherbo are in a happier space and have been able to heal for the sake of their child and the sake of their own personal lives. So that is it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Please let me know your commentary on my commentary down below. What do you think? What do you know? Let me know. If you haven't already, go stream my song Ballin'. It is out on all platforms, linked down below. And lastly, don't forget to follow me on all of my social media networks, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye, y'all.
Leave it by the gate. Call my favorite cousins up. They round the way and on the way. Had to come to auntie house, cause last time I did 20K. Yo, Chioma, they don't know who they messing with. I be where the blessings is. My pockets never deficit. You can't touch all this excellence. You gon' need a prerequisite. You gon' need some relevance, so cut it OT Genesis. Pat in the mail from my boys in the boocha. Thick, meaty, spicy, juicy, baby, call me Suya. I said 24/7, we stacking, racking. I'm a bad bitch, you fraction, lacking. Counting bread while he playing Madden. I'm in the building, bitch, what's happening? Queen Chioma, pierced out his back.